Welcome to A Pod of Wings and Filth, where two voracious fantasy readers dive into the magical, gritty, and sometimes downright filthy world of fantasy.
On this podcast, we chat about our favorite fantasy books, from dragons and magic to the dark and twisted corners of fantastical realms.
I'm Heather, and if I hear wet heat one more time, I'm going to imagine a soaking wet cat that smells.
And I'm Morgan, and Touch Her and Die is the absolute hottest microtrope.
We've got a lot of opinions, a lot of passion, and even more books to talk about. So grab your favorite brew, maybe a magical artifact or two, and join us as we get into all things magic, wings, and a little bit of filth.
Content warning. Expect spice, swearing, spoilers, and strong opinions on dubious character choices. This is an adult show meant to discuss adult things, unfiltered for an adult audience. Today's episode will contain spoilers for all of Direbound. So if you're not ready for unhinged fandom energy, turn back now. Otherwise, spread your wings, grow your horns, and let's get filthy.
Hello, Morgan.
Hi, Heather. How are you?
I'm very excited to be here today, and I'm very, very excited to talk about this book.
Me too. Oh my God. This feels like it came out of nowhere and is so fucking good.
No, I saw many of our book talk and bookish girls talking about it over like in the early months of the year. And immediately I love direwolves. I just love animal stuff and bonding with animals. The idea of that is so like what I want to actually happen to me. And so it's not dragons, it's direwolves.
I was going to say, I heard Fourth Wing meets Hunger Games and I was like, I'm sold. I'm done. That's all I needed to hear. And to be honest, it actually kind of met exactly those expectations, plus some.
Yes. And that I've heard that multiple times since. And some people don't like that.
No.
Fair enough.
I understand. We can have that conversation.
Yep. But they are similar worlds and boxes, but they are different characters and different problems and many different things to overcome. So they are not the same, but they are similar that if you like them, you will enjoy this.
Yeah. Do you want to read us your beautiful summary?
Here we go. Court politics and a dangerous bond with a wild, unresponsive wolf, Meryn must fight to survive. Her fellow trainees want her gone. Her instructor is cruel, and the charming crown prince may be hiding as much danger as desire. To save her sister, Meryn will have to survive the castle, the trials, and the beast that she's bound to.
So good. Oh my God.
Holy shit.
Yeah. Well, I think the other piece, I know I said Hunger Games meets Fourth Wing, but also direwolves and vampires. An unlikely combination that fucking is great in this book.
No, it was going to be vampires that were the big bads in it until I started reading. I think I may have said in the buddy read, vampires! Which, by the way, this is by far my favorite buddy read so far.
Yeah, it's full of really good, zippy comments from the two of us. This is a good reminder at the top of the episode that if you do not participate in the buddy reads as we go along, which are this function on the Storygraph app that we use that allows us to give live reactions to each other as you read along with the books, please join them. The links are always live and they're just a great place for our live reactions. And it's so funny. It ends up being a really good, goofy time.
It's so much fun. So if you have your book bestie that you text, but you also sometimes have to restrain yourself because you're adults and you have responsibilities and you don't exactly because there are times where I'm like, I'm about to call Morgan and she's going to freak out because I've never called her before and she's going to think bad things happen. And then I'm like, I can't text all this because I'm a fat finger slow texter.
You really are.
I so am. I really try hard to make them coherent for you, even though I think you get me at this point.
Yeah, I do.
But I will send a voice note now if it's really dire, and it helps a lot.
It does.
But still, you can't just blow up your friends' lives with the books that you're reading, especially when you read prolifically.
Or like if they're not reading at the same pace at you, right? Like you don't want to spoil each other. So I think that's my favorite part of the Storygraph buddy read function is that you type in what page you're at and what edition you're reading. And it will not show those comments to your friend unless A, they consent to skip ahead, which fucking masochists, what are you doing? Or until they get to that part of the book. And so it follows the percentages. And, it's not perfect, but it's really good so that you don't spoil shit for each other, but you still get to like launch the screaming thought into the void at your friend with the trust that they will read it eventually. I love it so much.
It's so great. Exactly like Morgan said, she reads a bit slower than I do. And because once I get to a point in a story, I can't freaking stop. I'm like a freight train.
The craziest thing is, in all of my other friend groups, I'm the fastest reader people I've ever met, and you are the only person in my life who reads faster than me.
But what ends up happening is I don't sleep at night. And that's what happened with Direbound. I read this in 24 hours because I chose to not give a fuck about work the next day and come to work as a zombie. What I do during work is I listen to my audiobooks.
Okay, we could rage about this forever. And I wanted to share a very fun fact that I don't think you know about this book.
Oh, I'm excited.
So Sable Sorenson is a pen name for two people.
Who is it? Who is it? Because I read that somewhere and I forgot to follow up on it.
I don't think it's people you know. Their names are Eliza and Annie. And all I know is that they did an impeccable job with this book. But I saw a video somewhere. They are delightful. There's no part of this book, I think, that reads like two different authors or two different voices at all. So they are beautifully cohesive. But I didn't know that. When I first picked up this book, I had no idea there were two authors.
I had none, and I forgot to follow up on it, and I hadn't seen it anywhere else afterwards. So that's exciting. And she's 100% right. You don't get even a drop of a different tone.
No.
In a different, I would have never thought. And I've read some authors that do the dual writing together. Most of the time they write different chapters.
Yeah, or write different POVs. I like it just fine. If you're going to do two different authors, I mean, you and I both read How to Lose the Time War together. That was beautiful. And that's two different authors and they write two different POVs. That's like space poetry. It's beautiful. I am a big fan of the Zodiac Academy. Caroline Peckham and Suzanne something. I don't remember her last name, but those are the two. And they write the two different sisters POVs mostly. Zoe Sugg and Amy McCullough with the Magpie Society. That was a really fun one. But yeah, typically if you see two authors, it's two different voices and they do it on purpose. They still work together, but it's very different. With this is just one POV. You just get Meryn's POV the whole time. And there is truly no part of it, I thought, that read like two people. I love it. It just read beautifully. I am obsessed with that.
I am so impressed. This is am I right too that this is a debut novel?
I think
the
so.
two of them.
I believe so. I fucking crushed it, knocked it out of the park.
That's the other aspect of it that I think is just insane.
Yeah, I think this is their first book. It's the only thing listed on their website. There is going to be a second book. So the series is called The Wolves of Ruin. There's no news. Oh, March 2026 is when book 2 comes out, Fury Bound.
That's so far away.
That's very far away, but also it's good. We can wait. There's content warnings. I guess I would read those.
Those are pretty necessary too. I think not on a Bloodguard level, but this book there's some legitimate violence in it.
This is where I might lean towards more of the Fourth Wing comparisons. That's a brutal world. There is gruesome violence in it, but the story itself, I feel like, takes place away from just the violence enough that it's not like the only thing driving the plot forward is the violence. That happens a lot in Bloodguard, we talked about. Like, the violence of the arena is a big part of the plot. Whereas this, like, the violence supports it, but it's not just the violence. So the content warnings listed on their website.
So in the book itself, there wasn't a content warning at the beginning.
Right. I will read the whole content warning, and then we'll talk about the one piece that I think you and I got a little stuck on that maybe we could have used more warning for. So it says, content warnings for this book include gruesome, explicit, on-page violence, self-harm, mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, and psychosis, domestic abuse, parental death, and explicit sexual content, including elements of dubcon.
I had to look this up because I just read a book. I just read God of Malice, and that was one of the warnings. I had to look it up. Is like
dubious consent.
Yes, dubious consent. Yeah.
So I am a therapist who specializes in kink, and I've never heard that before. But also, that makes a lot of sense now that I'm reading this, because technically, and again, we already did our spoiler warning, technically she doesn't know who she's having a sexual relationship with the whole time.
Nope.
So I understand where the dubious consent comes in.
Yep.
Interesting. Yeah, so the one warning I think I needed a little bit more that you and I both commented on in the buddy read was the self-harm.
Yes.
I have not read a fantasy book with self-harm in it before.
I have, but not in this context. And
I've read sci-fi books with self-harm, but that's because those are like this world but different. Whereas this is like full-blown fantasy. We're in a world with direwolves and vampires. We are not on Earth. But yeah, I had not
No,
read
and
that
it was very straightforward. It was in like the first
It was
couple
well done.
chapters. It was, and it was one that I feel like is pretty. She cuts herself and she cuts her inner thighs mostly. And that's a place that is pretty typical too, because it's very sensitive. So the pain is acute, but
Yes.
also it's easier to hide.
It's easier to hide. The most common places you will find people self-harm is their upper arms. I mean, obviously a lot of people think of wrists, but like places that you can hide easily, upper arms and inner thighs, because even when you wear shorts, they would be covered. I will say, even though it took me big time by surprise, I wasn't expecting it, they did it really well.
I agree.
I won't say it's a passing comment. And it comes back, it really plays a role twice in the story, but they just do a good job of like, this is a thing she has struggled with in her past. She's acknowledging it the first time with a little more shame, the second time with a little more sort of empowerment of like, yeah, that's a hard thing I went through. But it just, I had not read a fantasy book with that in it before.
Because it's from her point of view too. I thought it was a really good way to absorb immediately who she was, because she's brought to us in a fight scene right away. We find her, she's like this. It jumps right. This book jumps right into the action. She's doing like some street fights or like underground fighting, and this is another way that she makes money, but she also enjoys it clearly.
Which, yeah, she's like known as the alley cat. Like she has a name. She's like infamous. I love it.
I have been very lucky lately of getting main female characters like this, where they are just full of, already they're strong and powerful.
Yeah.
And they're badasses and they're angry and they don't want to take people's shit. But what I like about it is that you don't see, until recently, really, you didn't see, even in our romantasy books, you didn't see a lot of these kinds of characters. You see a lot younger, more demure, or coming of age, or like those kinds of things. You don't see someone who's kind of fully formed, but also you see a strong character that also might be strong that way, but emotionally they still hurt and suffer, and how they internalize all of their pain. And her cutting herself was a beautiful way to express it. And also the way she kind of grazed over it. Like you said, it was a moment of shame, certainly with it, but also well, I'm not dealing with that because that's my thing.
Right. It was all hers. And she was like moving through this moment. It might have even also played a role in her first sex scene with
Lee.
Right.
Lee,
who we find out is not Lee.
He's not fucking Lee. Okay, and let me say, we called that shit from the start.
No. You called that? I had a feeling. I was not sure, but you called it fully. When that reveal happens, which it happens late. Like it's, I don't know, 30% of the way through the book. Because she goes fully through the trials up the mountain. She bonds with Anassa, who we will be absolutely talking about in depth because I love that bitch so much.
Me too.
And then it's not even until like the first official trial that he is revealed as the crown prince, but he is the guy she's been having sex with and like fully falling in love with.
Yeah, he seems really great in the beginning. Okay, I'm in the buddy read right now, and it's 6 pages in, and my comment is, "Oh, Lee, you seem really great. Are you going to die or betray Meryn?"
You do that. I don't know how you do that. I wrote a note that like I knew he was not going to be our full-blown MMC because that does not happen these days. I recognize that. And I recognized that Stark, sexy Stark, was going to be likely our MMC.
Yeah.
Wow, it took a long time for me to be like, oh, Lee's not just not going to be our MM. He's a bad guy.
And there's nothing, and to be fair, too, there's not any real big indicators that he is.
Spidey senses.
It is. I've met enough liars in life.
When you look back on the story, like there are those moments that you are picking up on, that you are pattern recognitioning all day long. You look back and you're like, oh yeah, he did take her away from the things that she loved. He was very conveniently in places that it didn't really make sense that he was able to be there or to do those things or to gift her those expensive. His whole backstory as a messenger for the palace or whatever was like, he makes good money, but he doesn't make that good of money. There were just enough things that you look back and you're like,
even the
writing
sex
was on the wall.
Even the sex. And here's the thing too. I am all for the rough sex. I am all for it getting possessive and all of the things. And he is that way with her. But there is there was a back and forth with that should exist. And she did not have that. And again, it wasn't like it was obvious. It was subtle. She doesn't say, I'm finally letting go and letting him be in charge. And I love that I'm not in charge right now. It's an acknowledgement of, okay, I'm not in charge now. This is the time where he's the boss.
Yeah, that always felt like her inner monologue about it, as opposed to something that was explicit on the page. Like it wasn't discussed between the two of them, which like
No.
they're young enough that I wasn't necessarily expecting a really good consent situation, but something a little bit, you get the vibe that like he just shows up like this and she has internalized it as he knows what I need. And she has turned that into a sexy, empowering thing for herself, which I love. Yes. That's fine. But over time, it starts to degrade, especially as she starts to go through the trials and all of this more deep stuff. Like she starts to evolve and you're like, this is staying the same.
Exactly.
And it shouldn't be. It should be evolving with her. And he doesn't care about that.
And it's total acceptance too. It's not like it's non-consensual at all. She's down for all of it. She is 100% there. But even like Morgan said, her inner monologue, there's like questions of, am I enjoying this almost? And then it starts to get a little rougher and she's enjoying the physicality of it. But there is a big emotional disconnect between the two of them during it. It's very much so physical, but he is doing these things to her.
Yeah.
That is how I felt the whole time, that she was there and present and accepting of it. But he was doing those things for her. He was enjoying what was happening. And he was very much so. But he was also punishing her.
Well, for something.
But we didn't know that in the beginning.
We didn't know about that in the beginning. She has no idea. So I love a secret chosen one trope. I love it so much. She had no idea. And you don't find out as the reader until that's 20 pages to the end of the book. I loved it, but it added this delicious element of unknown tension to the book where you're like, there's something here. Again, you as a much more attuned reader, maybe, we're picking up on like Stark calls her princess constantly and was like, maybe she has some royal line hidden in her. And I was like, oh no, this book doesn't quite feel like that. Nope, that's exactly what happened. That's literally exactly what happened.
Yep. Well, also, I mean, that also has happened a lot in books we've read too. That's not life. It's not like I know so many hidden princesses. I mean, it would be cool if I did. Morgan might be one. I never know.
I want to know.
You should know. Maybe you will find out one day when you do. I would like to be in your court. I will be a problem.
Maybe it'll be a better family than the one I have.
So we love our found family with like one good real family blood member. But yeah, I also the other aspect of this that I like that they're jumping into. It's like Morgan had said about, the self-harm that's brought into it in a very, very real way. This dynamic of the relationship and sex, and also towing that line of what's consensual and not consensual. This really shows how subtle it can be and why it can be so confusing.
Yeah.
And why you don't really know that something is wrong, but it's not.
The first few
even in the moment
with Lee, if you were just reading them, you'd be like, this is hot. This is physical. It feels passionate. Everyone seems to be enjoying it. And I will say, it's not like he ever violates her consent fully in a, this is the dubious consent piece, right? He doesn't have sex with her without her consent to have sex. It's just some of the stuff that goes on. You're like, I don't know that you got full buy-in for that. But the first few scenes with him, you're like, she feels safe with him. She feels comfortable with him, which leads to the dubious stuff feeling so bad later, is because she really did trust him. She just didn't know who she was trusting. Exactly. And that trust was very deeply misplaced. But so the story starts with her, we sort of get her fighting in these fighting rings. And then she's like making out with him on a chair. And I'm like, how did no one know? This was a piece that flagged for me. How did no one know that's what their crown prince looks like?
I'm wondering about that too. Unless I think they did mention, and this doesn't escape entirely. I understand that, people like her who live in it's not the slums, but it's definitely
poverty. Yeah.
Poverty. They're not necessarily going to know what the king or queen looks like, or the king or the prince looks like. But that being said, I think it mentions one time that the prince is not someone's face that they see a lot, that he's typically not out front in front of everyone.
I mean, we learn through her experience in the castle that the sort of royal world, the like Direbound world, the bonded world, because there's like a whole bonded city where these families who are like legacy bonded to these direwolves live, and it's closer to the castle and it's much more wealthy and like genuinely powerful, we learn that it's so removed from actual society. So when her sister gets kidnapped, she's talking to people in the castle and they're like, nabbers, what are you talking about? And she's like, this is a thing that has been plaguing the city, like the bulk of your regular citizens, for years. Like, not just overnight or like the last couple, no, years. Her sister is just the most recent kid who got kidnapped. And the people in the castle and in this bonded city have no fucking clue what she's talking about. And it's like everyone on the streets knows what this is. So I think it's another way of reminding us the divide between like the royal and the elite in the society and the regular
It's
people.
also a clue. It's a clue that maybe because there are people who are doing it intentionally and trying to hide it and cover it up, which, you know, I personally too, I love when we start getting into politics. I love when we start getting, I love when we start getting into like secret society type stuff and all of those kinds of things. And this has all those elements on top of adventure and romance and, you know, fucking animals, which
bonded animals, which is
yes,
the main Fourth Wing comparison.
Yep.
So in Fourth Wing, we have the dragons that you bond with. And so you get the dragon's voice. The dragon is a character in the story, which I love. I love Daddy Tairn so much.
So much. He's my favorite. He's my favorite fucking dragon. He is. He's my favorite dragon.
It's a really hard tie between him and Andarna. But anyways, so in this world, we get the bonded direwolves, which are these absolute massive size of a house wolves, magical wolves, which is so fucking cool. I love it so much. And you get they bond with the wolves. So you get the direwolves voice as well. And Meryn bonds with Anassa. She's like the toughest, oldest. You're led to believe she hasn't bonded in years. And she a big old bitch. And I love her so much.
Yep, she's my favorite character in the book.
I hated her so much at the beginning, and I love her so much now.
Agreed. Same thing. And this part too, I have to tell you all about because it's fucking awesome. And it's what had me hooked. From the beginning, I couldn't put it down because I was on the edge of my damn seat. So they don't just go hang out with the dire wolves and bond with them. They have to climb the side of a mountain. And there is an easier way up the mountain. But if you go up there, then these other already bonded riders might come run you down and murder you. So it's either, you know, face the side of this mountain and climb it. This is just for anyone who's enlisted, which is how Meryn gets sucked in. She doesn't want to be there. She joined the army so she could go to the front lines because she's assuming that's where her sister is because they're fighting the vampires that we don't really see a lot of the vampires in this book. I assume the next book we're going to get a lot of the vampire stuff and I'm fine with that.
Page.
Yep. And she makes friends with two twins after she beats this bully's ass.
Love them.
Me too. It's Isabella and Benna. So she makes these allies and they climb up together, but they have to fight other people on their way off. They have to deal with avalanches and all sorts of crazy stuff. And right at the beginning, Meryn has a freaking mouth on her. She is not afraid of anybody.
She's so sassy.
I love it so much. I love a female main character that has a mouth like Meryn. They make me happy. I don't, because I say the things in my head and they say them on the page for me and I feel validated and it's great. So she immediately instigates some crap with this guy who's a total douchebag and he's a bully. The whole entire bit of them getting to the top of this mountain is so crazy intense. I'm like, the whole book could have been this and I would have been happy. I really would have. If the whole book was just the initiation to get to the wolves and they ended it there, I'm not kidding. I would have been happy with that adventure. I love that shit. Once they get up there, she has no interest in bonding. She's sitting there tired, exhausted. She's been fighting. She's bloody. And then the wolf comes over to her and she's like, you got to be kidding me. So her and Anassa do not start off on
well, they don't. It's an interesting dynamic with the two of them. And I think this is where I started to like learn to love Anassa. Is you expect she's gone through this like brutal mountain climb. She had no intention of bonding a wolf at all. She just wants to go to the front lines to save her sister. And she has this indifference. She's like, fuck your fancy society, fuck your bonding. I don't care. I just want to get to my sister. And Anassa bonds her anyways because that is the mark of a good leader, it turns out, but refuses to give her any of the benefits of being bonded until she accepts the bond. So they climb this crazy mountain, they bond to the wolves at the top, and then the whole thing is basically you have to make it down to the castle, down the mountain by yourself that you just climbed all fucking day up the ice and shit. You have to make it there by nightfall, and most everyone who has bonded their wolves, who is in harmony with their wolves, mounts their wolves and rides them down the mountain. And like, I'm sure that's intense. That's hard. And Anassa says, fuck you. Absolutely not.
Yep.
And so Meryn has to sprint down the side of a mountain by herself because she's like, well, the alternative is if I don't, I die. The bonding fails, basically, and I die. She's learning so much more about the bonded part of her society that she's been cut off from as someone in poverty all this time. And she's like, I'm not fucking dying now. I just climbed the side of a mountain and bonded to a wolf I don't want to be bonded to. Sprints down the mountain, gets down to the gates, and the person's like, where's your wolf? And she's like, I don't know. Turns around, and Anassa's like, I'm here. It's fine.
Yeah.
And it like looks like she like strolled.
Just chilled. Yeah. I've been watching you this whole time.
That feels like the peak of their relationship.
Yes, that's it in a fucking nutshell, too. And here's the thing. And this, I admit, it does get a bit grating after a certain point. Meryn's whole entire thing is, and she doesn't steer from it. She's got tunnel vision of getting to her sister, which I empathize with and understand. And this whole entire time, she's just trying to think of a way to get out, which is also why Anassa won't open up to her, which you discover later. And that makes total sense. And that's when we're like, oh, she's not a bitch.
She's not going to give you more than you're going to give her.
Exactly. Because she's being used, if that's the case. And no, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
It's really difficult watching them fight with each other, and both of them, because they're both so stubborn that neither will give an inch. But at the same time, they both know they have to work together. So they both, for a long time, do the bare minimum.
It makes it so much more satisfying, though.
It does.
They figure their shit out.
It really does. And they've earned it by then, too. And like I said, it does get grating with Meryn, but I am not saying that in a bad way. But Meryn doesn't understand this world. The one person she trusts has lied to her. And now she finds out he's a prince on top of it. So this seems like a good thing for her. And she's trying to focus on that. And she's just not making the wisest decisions.
And she doesn't have the history in order to make those decisions, I think, the experience. We are, I love a trope in a fantasy world where we learn more about the world as the main character learns it. But I will admit, Meryn learns it slowly. Like,
very
it
slowly.
is truly thrown in, like, trial by fire. You will learn it or fucking else. But people are really not willing to teach her, which is not what I'm used to in these stories. You're used to someone being willing to show up for her and be like, hey, take under my wing. This is how this goes. Instead, you get a lot of the twins being like, oh, yeah, you don't know this, huh? Oops. And then they tell her, and she's like, well, now it's too late. I already did the mess up or whatever that could have gotten me killed. Because
and they're just like, and they're all shoulders. And here's the other aspect of it, too. Most of the people that end up bonded are not from their poverty-stricken neighborhood. There is one other guy there. His name's Henry, who we cannot help
He's
but
from
like.
a different town,
district. Yeah, he's from a different district, I think is what it is. But it sounds like it's very similar to the one that Meryn is from. And he's looked down upon and treated differently because of that. It is very cutthroat. Like, they have to work together as a pack, but they're also competing with each other. So if you're the weak link in the pack, then you're going to harm the rest of the pack and they will turn on you. So it's like a very delicate balance. And the last thing that Meryn knows how to do is navigate things that way. She's a wrecking ball. That's how she deals with things. She comes right the fuck at it, and she's all fists first. And I love that about her, but she needs a little bit of the other ability. She doesn't ask questions. She doesn't have that curiosity because her mind is set on getting out, and that's it.
Yeah, she's not coming to it with that curiosity like you're talking about, which I think is when she does switch and she's like, oh, I'm the problem. I'm the problem, and there's no way out. The only way out is through. And so when she finally makes that shift internally and Anassa opens up to her, we finally get their bond opening up, which is, I think, really beautiful. There's a couple moments that are interesting. about the way that like the wolves are more accustomed to just having full access to their minds, and Meryn is really against that. She's not used to having someone listen in while she has sex, basically. And so she throws up that's like a big hurdle that they have to jump over. She's like, you cannot be in my head when I'm having sex with Killian, Prince Lee. And Anassa's pissed at her and is like, how dare you shut me out? And she's like, I didn't think I was a prude before I came to the society, but like now I really feel like a prude.
It's the other thing too. Everybody's having sex with each other.
That's true. It's very sexual.
And there's a lot of on-page sex in the book, and but it's very appropriate for the scenes and the story, and it sets the tone for everything. All of the initiates are having sex with each other.
Bone every night.
Every night. Some of them have one partner they're doing it with. Some of them are doing it with multi. There's orgies. It's just whatever. But the funny part of it is that you find out later towards the end of the book when
That's hilarious.
Me too. When Meryn asks Anessa, she's like, so like the mating thing, like everybody's having sex trying to find their mate. So you probably want me to so you can find your mate. And she's like,
right. That's not a thing.
No, we made that shit up.
Yeah, we totally made that shit up. It's like, we can find our mates without y'all boning. Y'all decided to bone each other.
She says right away, and this is when I called it in the buddy read, when she goes, I've known who my mate is for a long time. And I'm like, it's Stark's fucking direwolf.
And he still hates her a lot.
Which is why it made sense.
Correct.
Also, all signs pointed to Killian being like
the bad guy.
Well, at the beginning, the green flag guy. He's like the good guy in the page. And Stark looks like the red flag bad guy. And usually, in fairness, I like the red flag guys. But to me, it was Killian who was the red flag guy because he was portrayed as a green flag guy.
You read it as red?
I'm like, yeah.
Fucking funny.
I'm like, no, it's too obvious. And this book has a lot of subtleties in it. But from page 6, I'm like, no, he seems like he's perfect. This is not gonna work. And then like on page 10, we meet our dark and broody.
Yeah.
Stark. I liked him right away.
Yeah, when he licked her the first time.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was insanity. So obviously, as we've said, there are a lot of overtly sexual parts of this culture. Love it. Into it. Great. Grand. It doesn't feel gratuitous or over the top. It feels
or exploitive. Nope. It's great.
Exactly. But so every time you kill or are the cause of someone's death through these crazy, deadly bonding trials, you get a tattoo on your neck to basically help you remember that death. And that kind of goes through its own journey where it goes from being sort of like a mark of evil to a mark of gratitude and like reality checking, which I actually really liked. And he is responsible for the tattoos. And he tattoos her the first time. She has no idea what's coming. She has no part of this culture. And so big culture shocks. All of a sudden, I'm getting a tattoo on my neck I didn't even know I had to get. And the like things in their saliva help them heal. I don't know. It was just an excuse to like, lick her.
Totally. And they tried to tie it to like the wolf thing too.
Which is fine. But he licks her and it is like time stops.
I'm pretty sure I threw my panties across the room. I just gave up. Like, I might have put that in the buddy read. I think I said by the end of this book, I was literally throwing my underwear like a flag for Stark going, come over here. Come lick my tattoo, sir. Yeah. Oh, and right before that too, the first tattoo that she gets, she's looked at as a weak link for a while, even though she's bonded to the most powerful wolf because she keeps fucking everything up and she's not a team player.
She's not accepting the bond.
Yep. So someone comes after her and she murders them. But what happens is Stark comes in and is like, who did it? And everyone's like, oh, no one wants to admit it. And she just raises her hand. She's like, it was me. I did it. Self-defense. And she's just like, I'm like, I love her. I love that. Those moments.
Death was brutal. I wasn't even thinking about that one, but that one is the first one where she was like wandering through the castle at night exploring. She does do that multiple times throughout the book. And this guy sneaks up on her and tries to kill her. And he grabs her hair. And the way I so viscerally, like the rage that bubbled up in my body when he grabbed her hair, and she fucking whips out her dagger, cuts her own hair to release herself from his grip, and then basically chops his wrist off, his hand off at the wrist, and feeds it to him and chokes him on his own hand. And I'm like, that is maybe one of the most gruesome deaths I've ever read.
I loved it. I loved it.
It was so amazing. I mean, it was horrifying, but it was amazing.
He's not going to do that again.
He's not going to do anything again. But yes,
This was another indicator that there was something more to Meryn than the other
Yeah.
riders, and why she was a princess was also her hair, because
Ah.
there are 4 different collectives. Houses.
I don't know if they're actually called houses, but in my head, they were houses.
The collectives, the houses, the groups. There are 4, and they all have different things that they contribute to battle, to war, and that whole thing. When you bond to your wolf, you get a streak in your hair that is the color of the house that you belong to. And the one Meryn belongs to, which
Ejos?
Strategos, yeah, they're the leaders. Yeah, there was like Cryptos, which I think those are the spies.
The
Yeah.
like brute
Deimos, I think they
Deimos.
were.
I think it was
They got
Deimos.
red. They have red streaks in their hair. So the Strategos, the leaders, which is what Meryn is, they get a silver streak, except for Meryn. Her whole entire raven head turns silver.
That
And
was
nobody talks about it.
I would say that was my first indicator that I was like, okay, I know I'm a passenger princess, but like, obviously, we have a secret chosen one here. She is more than meets the eye. The thing is, with my passenger princess energy, I'm like, great, file that away. Noted, and away it goes, because I must suspend my disbelief for the rest of the book.
But there's so much going on, too. That's why I
good.
loved the buddy read so much this time, because I got to dump all those thoughts in the buddy read, and I got to leave them. And then when I'd come back later, I got to put them right back there. Our friend Lisa, she hosts a show called Pictures and Conversations. And Morgan and I have been on there a million times. Many, many times. It's a wonderful show. You should check it out. But one of the things we would always talk about is my insane reactions to reading to my husband. And I'm like, I'm losing it, and I take it all out on poor Mike. So this time I did not have to take it out on Mike. I did a little bit, just a little bit. I'm like, you have to know this. You want to know
for
this.
24 hours straight. That wasn't going to have no impact on your household.
Yeah. I had to explain it to him the next day when I was wide-eyed and bloodshot-eyed and crazy when he got home from work. But yeah, so I totally did that here. So Lisa, if you are listening to this episode, please go to the buddy read. We love you. And you will finally get to like crack Heather's head open and see what it looks like when I lose my shit while I'm reading a book. Because that's what the buddy read is.
Yeah. It's so good. It's so good. I love the live reactions to each other.
Yeah. But I love it when I open one of Morgan's comments and she's said almost exactly the same thing I have about something. It's very exciting.
Yeah.
Or when she's noticed something I haven't about a character, that's always fun too. Because it makes you pay more attention as you're moving forward.
You were more critical of Meryn going along than I was. And I liked that because I was like, I can have a little bit more of a critical eye here. Like, yeah, she is kind of fucking this up. Like, I was doing plenty of empathy, which is fine. But there were a couple moments where you were like, okay, it's time. Do the team player thing. It's time, Meryn. Get the fuck over it. And I was like, yeah, you're right.
And you can love your character and still be supportive of them and be like, nope, you need to get your stuff together now. It's
what humanizes these characters, right? They will make that mistake way more times than you want them to. And that is what us people do here on Earth too. We really commit to a bit.
And in fairness too, I know that I get more angry when I see a character doing something that's a wrong choice that I would do.
Yeah.
I'm far more annoyed when I'm like, I know I would do that stupid thing. Can you please not? Or I have done that shit in the past, but I've learned my lessons the hard way. Then I'm like, can you please not learn the hard way? I've gone through that.
I made a comment. So she becomes the Strategos Alpha. She gets named the Alpha of her pack, which is crazy, unheard of. She's a first year, basically initiate still, hasn't passed the bonding trials. And the Strategos Alpha gets murdered or dies in battle or something. And the wolves have chosen
The wolves
her.
chose. Yeah, the wolves.
Which is insanity.
Because it seems like, why would they? Her and Anassa still aren't even close at this point. They're better.
They're working on it. They're getting there. You're getting glimpses of their success when they finally really link up. But I wrote in here, and you and I both are like, I love a reluctant leader trope. I love it so much. It's just so satisfying to me because you can see the writing on the wall that says no, you'd be a really good leader. Like all this shit she did, putting her own safety and life aside for her sister, is what makes her a good leader. Ultimately, she would put her own self aside for the pack. She would do all of these good things.
And she doesn't know she's capable of so much more than she is. And I think that's what these chosen ones that don't know that they're chosen yet kind of are really about. They're about the awakening of finding your own inner strength It's not so much about being a superhero or any of those things. It's about realizing it's Dorothy. It's realizing you had the power all along.
Yeah, which I think it's really sweet. And I think it makes a really beautiful contrast to the intensity of some of these stories. It's just, I think it's delicious. Now, speaking of shitty leaders, I did not in any breadth of the imagination see Killian using Meryn as his way to the throne coming.
I didn't either. I
didn't see that shit coming at all.
I knew there was something wrong when she said that, or when he claimed her and she said she claimed him or whatever it was at the ball. I was like, oh, I felt it in my stomach. I felt it deep. I was like, this is really bad. And we still didn't know. I mean, there was all these little things and sort of insidious things that seemed offish about him at this point, aside from the fact that he did fucking lie to her. Like sometimes the hidden identity thing gets carried on when they reveal that there's someone else and the main female character stays mad for an agonizing amount of time. But this one, it was like
she got over that too fast.
Really fast. Yep. Probably because it was the only comfort she could find.
Correct. That's what I was just going to say. He was which I think he portrayed himself and positioned himself to be, which you find out later. He's manipulating all the things, which is super gross, but he's the only safe person in her life. He is this source of stability. He's this source of strength. He sees her brutality and doesn't shy away from it. Like, there is something quite beautiful to that. Yeah. We just find out later he was doing it to swindle her and to convince her to sign up for these bonding trials. And he orchestrated, he's the puppet master pulling all the strings, you know? But yeah, when the claiming happens at the ball, you're like, what are you doing? What? Okay. This is fine.
This is what I say. And it's 407 pages into the book. Hear me out. I have no reason for it other than trusting my gut. But what if Killian is actually a big bad? He's responsible for the nappers, which I immediately started going, he's the only person who's a royal or whatever that knows about it. Why doesn't anybody else know? Why hasn't he said anything?
Right. How is he's responsible?
Yes, he's responsible for the nappers, and he only gave Meryn the bad guy to satiate her need for revenge, which was giving her a false person to let it go and have her closure so she stops looking into it. Maybe he wanted her to join all along, and he orchestrated her sister to be taken, knowing it would set off this chain of events because the child's napping has increased since she did her murder. And this sex scene, him refusing to let her take control and power, that's a giant red flag. In fact, all of their sex should be hot, but it's not, and I can't exactly put my finger on it. There's something seriously wrong here, and I don't trust this MFer not one little bit.
This was, this is, you said 400 pages into the book. It's easily 100 pages before you find out that he is, in fact, the big bad. And Heather had it right all fucking along. There's a moment later where you're like, I told you so. I told you so. I was like, I bow down to your wisdom, oh wise one. Like, I don't know how you did that, but you were right. But yeah, I think you're right. This is the first sex scene with him where you get big question marks. It's sexy sex. She's having a good time. He's having a good time. But she specifically asks, because she, based on what she has just done, they've claimed each other in front of the whole court. Her friends finally know he's the secret guy she's been banging. Oh my God, it's the crown prince. She's feeling really good. She's feeling really empowered. And so she asks to take control. And I think he says yes, but then he acts no. He takes control, and she says something in her head. She doesn't say it out loud. Again, it's all her inner monologue. He knows this is what I need. And I remember being like, but you asked for something different. That matters. And so that was the first, you're like, okay. And again, you kind of get swept along with the story after it, but you're like, no, I don't feel so good anymore. And that Stark guy's really hot over there. So I bet we're going.
And right after that scene, that's when Stark and her go on their first mission together. And they've grown more compatible at this point. Is the best way to put it. But when she goes to leave, he refuses to let her go on her own. I'm like, he just abandoned like all of his stuff at school. This is kind of wild. And I don't know exactly what's going on. And I didn't have all that sorted out at all.
No.
At all.
And I will say, I tried to put on my Heather hat and predict something, and I got it big wrong. So they go on this adventure to the front lines. She's convinced because of a report from the front lines. This is after she's been named Alpha. So she's like, finally getting real war news for the first time. She's like, I'm going, you're either coming with me or not. Like, fuck it. And I wrote, we're getting a one bed trope and I can feel it. Woo! I'm so excited.
Wanted that with you.
Yeah.
Because even
We
though
did
and
get
that's
a one bed. It just wasn't sexy. They just went to
no,
sleep in it.
they sure did. Which also made me endeared me to him a little bit more.
Yes.
Even though I wanted the naughty, that's the thing about Stark through this whole bit is I never ever once looked at him like he was a bad guy.
No.
Not once. He didn't give any indicators to it. He was just a hard guy.
He was a real hard guy.
Yeah, but he was not a bad guy. And I could tell by the way he treated her, it wasn't out of hatred. And it doesn't also come across as affection either. It comes across as I'm treating you because the way I am, because I know this is what you need. And before this, even there was a pretty much a touch her and die moment where
someone threatens her as Alpha, and he says something about like, touch her again. You touch her again, and I'll call you myself. And I was like, oh, and I wrote, oh, fuck, I can't wait to find out what he's like in bed.
Oh my God, yes. And I read that line. And I was like, that's one of those moments where I'm like, oh, I get to Morgan's moment. She said it better than I had it in my head. Yes, exactly that. Exactly that.
I loved it.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And we don't get to find that out in this book, but I think clearly we are going to. We fucking better. We did
That's
not.
That's a slow burn.
I love slow burns.
I do too. But that's a real slow burn.
It is, and I'm okay with it.
But yeah, so you wrote something in here that, so they get to the front lines and the whole situation is basically foiled. She fights her first siphon. It's crazy. The fighting of this big bad is revealed to her in a way that is like, oh shit, I had no idea what I was up against and what we've been up against. But basically, her sister's not there. Like, the reports that there were children, either totally false or had been, like, there was a leak that let in. And you were like, it's Killian. I know it's the prince. They knew they were coming because she wrote him a letter to say where they were going, and he let them know.
And it took a couple days for them to get there too. So otherwise, why would they have been mysteriously gone so fast? Exactly. He was the only person that knew, and that's when I knew that he was the villain, 100%. Obviously, I suspected it up to then, but then I was like, nope, he's not just not right for her.
Right.
He's rotten. Right. I had no idea the scale,
which is different than the Tamlin situation, right? Like,
very
Tamlin
different.
is going through his own shit and needs a boatload of therapy, like a lot of therapy. Killian is evil.
100.
With a capital E, evil. Because he, right, like this whole situation, they go to the front line, she gets closer to Stark, not like super sexually, but there's tension building.
There is definitely sexual tension between them. She is not about it.
No, she's like, I love Killian. Why am I doing this? And actually, like, you kind of feel for her where you're like, yeah, crushes are normal, girlfriend. Like, it's okay. You don't have to feel so bad. But also, he's way hotter than your other guy. So, like,
yeah, please have sex with him. I'm pretty sure that he'll let you dominate him.
Especially if you ask nicely.
Yep, I bet he'll get right on his knees.
Oh, but then I think this is the threshold of the book, this journey to the front lines, where Killian starts to speed up the intensity of his evilness.
Because she's getting too close to the truth.
But she gets home and he proposes to her. And I'm like,
gross. So gross.
Do not know each other good enough. Like, this is not okay. You wrote, trust your instincts. You're engaged to a monster, princess.
See, those are the moments where I just lose my shit.
Where, like, there's a lot of, for you and for me, of like, you're smarter than this. Like,
yeah.
You are really glossing over this pretty boy in front of you and missing the forest through the trees.
Also, I've experienced that too, where the guy who I thought was a good guy and told me the things that I wanted to hear, and he was there in ways that I thought made him a good guy. And then at the end, I realized, oh, none of that was real. You were full of shit. Yeah. But I still made some of those choices, and I can look at that.
People come along and do that coercion, right? Like, This is where the dubious consent piece plays an even bigger role. So yeah, she gets home from the front lines. Oh, her mother had died.
Yeah.
And she's devastated. And that's when he proposes. And you're like, what the fuck, man? That's gross.
Was it not convenient that her mom died at that point? I mean, there's just at this point, even if you're not catching on to all of the specifics, you have to know as a reader that things are going upside down real fast.
In a weird way.
Yep. And it does not stop from this point until the end of the book, by the way.
No, because this is like 75% through the book at this point. And so you're like, oh, we are going downhill on a roller coaster that has no brakes from here, because this is just the fantasy way. I fucking love it. I just know, and you and I do this differently. I know when I get to this point, if it's too close to know it's time to close the book and go to bed, I have to close it. I cannot start this part.
Yes, but I've gotten better about that because I have bedtime books. They're usually my Elsie Silver books or my bedtime books. But this, I could not do it. And it was because I did not want to. I'm like, I have to know. I have to know. I am so invested in this story
good.
now. It's just so much fun. And like I said, the next day when I was struggling all day long, I was like, totally worth it. I think the last time I did that was probably Onyx Storm.
So, right, from here to the end of the book, she goes to the front lines with Stark. She gets home. Her mother has died. She gets engaged to Killian. She finds out that Anassa and Stark are holding on to some sort of crazy secret about her, maybe. And they're like being very cagey about it. She picks up a book out of Stark's library and they're like, we can't tell you about it, but you should just read that book. You should read the book. And she's like, fuck you. Why won't you tell me the truth? And they're like, we did. Read the book. And you find out there's a magical bond that prevents them from actually telling her. Then we get the reveal that her sister was hidden underneath the castle the whole fucking time.
Yes! Like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang and the Child Napper.
With a bunch of other children, which I will admit, I think that storyline, like that was dark. There's a lot of dark in this. There's a lot of violence we've talked about. It's an intense book. It's also really good. Those two things don't cancel each other out. But that storyline, I was like, shit.
I didn't see that shit coming. I knew that he was involved and I didn't know why. I think I thought he might have been the Siphon King or something like that. Or he was connected to the Siphon King or something along. Nope. But I did not think that they actually had the children in their own castle there.
Yeah.
Also, the king, Morgan, I don't remember exactly what she said, but he is disgusting.
He's so creepy.
He is so creepy. He usually takes on one of the new initiates as his sex toy. Yep.
So gross. It's also an interesting dichotomy, I think, that piece, because everyone in the like royal bonded elite society sees this as like a great honor. A king has chosen me. I'm special. But there is a very slight undertone of like, everyone's not really cool with this, but we just go along with it. And it's not until Meryn, who's an outsider, comes in and is like, ew, fucking nasty, that everyone's like, yeah, I guess it is kind of gross, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, it's fine. And she's like, no, it's not. Ew.
Yeah.
Which I actually thought was kind of a funny commentary. I don't know if it's intentional or direct, but kind of a funny commentary on the age gap that is normally in these fantasy books.
Yes. Oh my goodness. Yes. And Meryn gets chastised for this at some point because she's harsh and in a judgmental way that kind of makes her seem like she's looking at everyone else like they're less than her too.
Right.
But she does call shit out constantly. She's like, what the fuck is this about? What the hell? And frankly, again, I do insert myself into some of these stories when the character is saying shit that I would say. I would be putting myself at risk because I would not be able to stop myself from going, what the fuck is wrong with all of you people?
He's so old and gross. And she's like naked on his lap. What are we talking about?
Yes. And he's like groping people when he's walking through.
Right. Well, and I think it invites an interesting conversation. I think it happens in many of these fantasy books when we invite sort of a like normie into the elite society or the royal society. There is often an awakening that happens by the human of like, oh, I thought it was just royal excess, money spent, food wasted. I thought that was it. I thought it was superficial. I thought there was nothing else. And there's usually a recognition for the human or the normie or whatever that like, oh, there's more to it here. And there are parts of the society that are actually good and parts that are gross and nasty. And then the inverse happens, right? The society she's entering into has this judgment of people who live in the normal towns that they're like, we didn't think anyone could be as smart or as capable as you are. Turns out we were wrong. And so there's this sort of blending of society that happens, hopefully. At the end of these stories, that's their version of the happily ever after, is like things become more balanced. But I found that interesting in this, in some of the sexual stuff as well, where like there's a lot of sexual stuff that's so normalized that is okay, that's fine. Like as long as it's consensual. But she sort of comes in and goes, okay, but like, what if you chose different? Like you could make other choices. Would that be okay? And everyone's like, oh, yeah, I don't see why not. That could be okay.
And that's sometimes all you need is you need someone with a contrasting point of view to go, hey, have you thought about this differently?
Right.
And that goes
Right.
both ways.
It does. I think one of my favorite smaller storylines through this book was her coming to realize that she didn't have to expose her sexuality or her sexual sense of self to her friends in order to make friends. She really had written off like every night in the common rooms. Basically, there's like all these orgies that happen from her point of view. She had seen one orgy one time and assumed it was like that every night. It's not. There's also
No.
people playing games. Yeah, there's that, teenage horny couple in the corner going at it or like making out like mad. But there's so much more to that society and that culture and that group of people, that pack she has to be a part of to survive. And so I really liked her bridging that gap with her friends as well.
And they show that she learns it too, because I think her name is Nevin, another character that is kind of a solitary character. Also, she keeps to herself a bit more. And at one point, like we said, it's really brutal. They kind of have to go, and it's one of the parts of the final trial things that they have to do. You have to turn on the people in your pack and get rid of the weaklings. And you don't just get rid of them, you fucking murder them.
Yeah, it's gruesome.
It is. And they wanted to go after Nevin. And she's been kind of solitary this whole time. Not like bad. Like she shows up and does the things she's supposed to, and she's really good at it, but she's not bonding with the pack. And I think that was a moment where Meryn saw herself in her. She's like, she's not weak, she's strong. She's just not ready to bond with you guys yet. So she puts herself in front of her and defends her. And I loved that moment because I thought that was one of the biggest moments of growth for her. But it's like you said, it was this like little side piece that she had to kind of come to on her own and understand, oh, it's not just me.
Right. Well, and it's sort of an interesting twist on that found family, right? Because her letting Nevin go, like basically be killed, like it's technically no skin off of her back. She did not have to defend her in that way. But again, like you said, seeing herself in her and recognizing, like, no, that like isolated tendency that she's showing is because she hasn't found her place in this pack yet. And we can help her do that. And that doesn't make her a weak link.
It doesn't. And
loved
afterwards,
it.
you start to see her with them more, just like we start to see Meryn also. But then they're in the common rooms together more, and you start to see her with the twins interacting more, with Henry before we lose Henry, which that was also a brutal,
R.I.P. Henry.
sad
That was
death.
sad.
We had to have known that Henry wasn't going to make it.
You knew it. You even wrote, you were like, this guy's gonna die. And I was like, fuck, Heather, how do you know that? And he for sure died. He is her only link to the human world. He's the only other basically like normie who made it in through the bonding trials. And he dies a really fucking gruesome death because his wolf basically won't accept the death and is like pinning him to the ground and like has her like jaw on his neck, but like won't do the killing blow. And the wolf kind of goes mad when they realize that the pack has turned on them. And sometimes the wolf will kill their own rider to kill themselves, which is wild. And so this is one of those times where it goes wonky. And Meryn basically has to break from the pack as leader during this trial to go give him a merciful death because his wolf is struggling to do it. And it is, I think, a beautiful show of sacrifice for the greater good in not just like it's brutal, but it doesn't feel like it's just brutal. Like it's also beautiful.
It is, because it is Mercy and it is someone that she cares about. But I think it's the first time that she really, really shows leadership too, because a lot about being a leader is about sacrifice. You sacrifice so much of yourself when you're in a leadership role for the greater good, for your group, for who you were leading, because that's what you're looking out for. You're not looking out for yourself. And that's why we can all be familiar with this. And I think it's why it's so comforting when we do find good leaders. And Meryn doesn't start off as one at all.
Sure doesn't.
And that's why this journey is so great, is because you do get frustrated with her. It's not a situation where you're mad at her the whole time. In fact, most of the time you're like, yeah, and you like her most of the time. But there are moments you're like, girl,
come on, be a team player already.
Yeah, you are not just hurting them, you're hurting yourself. You're not doing a single person good here, but it is something she has to go through to get to the end. And once we get there, it's...
Yeah. So the end of this book, those plot twists are crazy.
Yup.
Crazy girl. So she's this secret princess, secret queen, I think.
Queen now. Yeah, queen, because
Yeah.
she doesn't have a child and her mother is now dead. Her mother would have been the queen.
Her mother would have been the queen, I think. Anyways. But you find out. So they've been, as a society, they've been battling the siphons, which are the vampires, for 500 years. And no one's winning. That's always a red flag for me. I'm like, why? Still? Really? Still? 500 years feels like a long time.
It is.
Right. And you find out at the end of the book, not only is she like secret magical hidden away queen, heir to the kingdom, but the siphons have actually been infiltrating the royal family for a very, very long time and have made people forget. And so this has basically been like these gruesome bonded trials. All of these things have been karma on her society for basically losing the war many, many years ago and under the guise that they are still fighting it. It's so twisty. Like the explanation of this, they do a great job.
It's pretty wild. So the Siphon King, he was killed or destroyed somehow, but he really wasn't. What happened was he somehow inhabited the king of their realm's body. So he's kind of in control of the creepy bastard. But apparently Killian has made a side deal because Killian is in fact the orchestrator of
All of it.
everything. And
Yeah.
children are more powerful, so that's why they've been collecting the children and feeding them
Yeah.
to him. So Killian makes a deal with the Siphon King. First of all, Meryn is tricked into killing the king.
Mm-hmm.
And Killian sets this whole thing up.
And then
So
imprisoned.
and then imprisoned. And that makes Killian the king immediately. Morgan said, she's like, oh my fucking God. I knew he would frame her. So what happens is Killian now is carrying the Siphon King, and he is, in fact, a vampire.
I think my understanding of it is he's basically possessed.
Yes, that's the impression I got.
Magic.
Yeah. Magic. Woo.
Mhm.
Yep. But he still has his human body and he has control to some degree. How long that lasts for, we don't know yet because this literally happens at the end of the story where all this is
Pages
revealed.
before the end.
Yep. So that happens, and Stark
Yes.
and one of the twins, Venna helps get her out. Stark kind of reveals everything to her. Stark can finally tell her. He's like, yeah, I'm supposed to be protecting you. I've known about this. We had, like Morgan said, we had this magical thing where we couldn't talk about it and couldn't say it out loud. And he says, welcome home, my queen.
Oh my heart.
Yep. And then she does what she wants to do because she's Meryn and she wants to go fuck Killian up.
Yeah.
So she goes to his room and they have it out and he's taunting her and he does eventually have to disappear.
I was going to say, so he disappears, escapes, whatever, because they're trying to throw a coup. And he makes this parting comment that her engagement cuff basically magically binds her from, like, prevents her from hurting him.
Using her full powers.
Yeah, that too. Limits her powers, I think. We just know it's bad. And he makes a comment on the wind as he's leaving, poofing into thin air, because, ooh, magic. He makes a comment that he left her a surprise. Yeah. And this, I think, is the darkest reveal of the book. He had turned her little sister into a siphon.
She's a vampire.
And she tries to attack Meryn, and they have to basically subdue her. Like, the ending of this book is
devastation.
Yeah. And again, this is, I think, where an actual very accurate Fourth Wing comparison goes in. Because no one does a devastating cliffhanger of an ending like Rebecca Yarros, but apparently these two women, Sable Sorenson, also are a hot second.
Yep. And in fairness too, giving us lots of resolve, which
True.
is why it does not feel incomplete. I did not feel like I got gypped. We got so many things answered. We just have a lot more questions and we have a great preposition for the next book. Great. So I'm very excited for it. But it was absolutely utterly devastating. And we have so many mixed emotions too, because I'm sitting there reeling from this bastard Killian. He's already like doing more and more awful things. Then we also get Stark going, use me, I'm yours. And I'm like, oh, I'm sitting here dying, but here's the panty flag again. And then we get the little sister right fucking after that. I literally dropped the book and went, it was like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. And I went, am I supposed to go to bed now? Right. I think I'm just going to get up and start work. So that's what I did.
Only you.
But wow, just fucking wow. All I can say is it's an experience. It's a ride. It is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Not even close. It's definitely not for everybody. So if you do hear Fourth Wing and Hunger Games mixed together and you don't like that, then probably this is just not for you.
No, but I think that is just a really good description of the storytelling aspects of this book.
Yeah.
Like, no, this is not Fourth Wing with wolves. It's more in depth than that. There's so many things that make it its own unique story. I just think that's actually a really good way of describing what you can expect out of this book. The intensity of it, the way the trials are truly life or death.
No.
And these are wild. And the shit she goes through is wild in a way I had not read in a long time. At the end of our buddy reads, we love to read the funniest 1-star review we can find and our favorite 5-star review. And I just got to say, these are good choices. You picked well.
Fun time actually going through them because there weren't a lot of bad ones, but almost all the bad ones said the same thing. It was a fun rabbit hole to go down.
I love reading reviews after I have read the book.
Same.
I don't read reviews very often before, mostly because it's spoiler city most of the time.
I don't want to be influenced either.
I don't want to be influenced, and I like seeing like, oh, did people pick up on stuff that I really enjoyed, or did I miss something big time because I'm a passenger princess, and sometimes that happens. These are both from Goodreads, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. The 1-star review is Jules, and it says, DNF at 33%. Great value Zayden Ryerson licked dollar store Violet Soaringale's neck without her consent and without even giving her a heads up, knowing full well she had no clue what he was about to do or why. And I knew it was over because that is creepy. It's valid. That's fair.
Like if you're going to walk out at a time
that's
this
hot.
book, yeah, we're a different breed. It's okay. It's okay. Everybody has their own thing. And I get it. If that's the moment you were like, nope, this is not for me. Yep.
I'm out.
Because, it's like Morgan said too, like the sexual stuff in it is really great because it's just part of the culture. It's just normal. It's not anything that they're like using gratuitously or whatever. And they really did try to tie in like wolf stuff. The tattoos too around the neck. She says it's like a collar, which I happen to think is really sexy.
It's really sexy. Exactly.
I like it. All right. For our 5-star, this is Laura Greenhall. And she said 5 stars with a sparkly star. Wow. I don't even know where to start. This is definitely going down as one of my absolute favorite reads of the year. So many points in this book gave me in full body goosebumps. Direwolves, bonding trial, mate bonds, forced proximity, dark, grumpy, mean MMC. No. Honestly, what more could I want? The world building was so good, and I feel like you were given the perfect amount of information throughout to make it digestible and interesting. I am absolutely obsessed with Anessa. She is a big baddie wolf, and I love her. Meryn, our female main character, was so badass, and although I wanted to give her a swift punch in the throat at one point, I just know Anessa would agree with me there. She has such huge potential for growth over the rest of the series, and I cannot wait to see it.
Right.
Perfect.
I think it's a beautifully written review, and I think I agree with one of the best reads of the year. This is so good.
Oh yeah. I absolutely. I mean, again, I stayed up all night and I couldn't stop reading it. It had me.
It
was in its clutches.
Yeah, I mean, it hooks you in. Truly.
You still read it very, very fast.
I did. I think 2 days. Like, I don't think it was a long time.
No, you blew right through it.
And honestly, it's good when the story sweeps you up in such a way that you have to stop the rest of your life. I think it's really awesome.
I do too. I loved it. I love it.
What are you reading right now? What are you reading next?
So I know that I said before with the Book of Azrael series that I was just going to start the 3rd book when I finished. Well, I went through another emotional gauntlet and I couldn't. I needed to take a breather. And I just started it, but I am now reading The Dawn of the Cursed Queen, which is the 3rd book in this series. The series is Gods and Monsters. It's by Amber V. Nicole, and I'm not too far in yet, but I love it. And I love that this book started from the villain's point of view. You're getting the full villain point of views, and you're getting tons more point of views in this book. I love it when authors do villains.
That's so cool.
Yeah, and I freaking hate the villain, and then I start reading from their point of view, and I'm like, I don't hate them as much. Damn it. Can we get more from their side? I would like more. And that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. And I'm like, no, just go to Diana and Sam Keel. I need to know them. Yes, I'm obsessed with the series, but I definitely need an emotional break. What are you reading, Morgan?
I am picking up next All Better Now by Neil Shusterman. I am a big Neil Shusterman fan. In college, I read his Unwind series. If if you want a mind fucky sci-fi young adult series, you want Unwind. And I saw he had this new book out, and I'm really interested to get into it because he does some really interesting dystopian stuff. Okay, we will be back next time with our first deep dive into the Ashes and the Star-Cursed King, covering the prologue, part 1 and part 2.
And that's been our show. Stay filthy. Thank you for listening to A Pot of Wings and Filth. Heather Baxendale and Morgan DeRocher host, produce, and magically edit the show. The music used is Magistar by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. You can find our podcast on all streaming services and at wingsoffilth.podmatic.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at A Pot of Wings and Filth. Please give us a follow and a rating. Your support really, really helps. See ya!